Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, on behalf of your Denver-based podcast crew, we appreciate you joining us for the Friendly Vibes.
Coming to you live from TSS Universidad. I'm joined by a smooth-talking cowboy today, folks. A veteran, OG podcaster, a cult personality of the Denver scene. JD Lopez of Left Hand, Right Brain is here, folks.
Hello, everybody. Thank you for having me. Appreciate it.
I apologize.
Always love being on pods.
You are the pod king, it would seem, of the local scene.
Thank you.
Upwards of 350 episodes. You started back in 2013?
Yeah, I did. I thought it was late in the game at that point to get into podcasting because, Kevin Smith had already been doing his thing. Marin, Nerdist. Nerdist was a big influence for me back then.
Me too. No way.
I love Nerdist.
So at High Plains this year, I bumped into Jonah Ray, and I was like, dude, I have to tell you, saw you at the Boulder Theater, I think in like 2012 or something. Like, Nerdist was huge. That was my cult thing.
Yeah. He did a thing with, I think it was Terrapin Care Station or some dispensary right when they opened. He shot something with them that they were trying to do some kind of like weed-based sitcom. And he was around the scene a lot back then.
When did you start comedy?
And then Kumail came in around 2013, 2014 as well. And back then, I remember Adam Caton Holland on his podcast being like, oh, all these young kids are starting podcasts without even having a year comedy under their belt. And it's like, I don't know. There was like a delineation of like, comedian podcaster.
Oh, okay.
And now I think, podcasting is its own thing now. I mean, it's such a juggernaut. I mean, a lot of comedians use podcasts to promote their shows and stuff like that. But I think there's becoming more and more of a delineation of like, this guy's more of a podcaster, or, you don't have to have something else you're doing to do a pod or to be a podcaster. And it was like kind of a shameful term back then. People are like, I have a podcast, or it was people weren't as proud about it. But I always loved podcasts.
It still is.
I mean, yeah, but I guess I've gotten over it. So, because I love the conversation. I love this right here. I mean, the juice. I mean, I like on a podcast I was just listening to of yours, you were like, I want to do it in person.
Yeah, well, I had to set the hardline rule because I was like, I could get certain guests over Zoom, but the whole thing is looking you in the eyes.
Yeah. This is the thing I really enjoy. And during COVID, I stopped doing it for almost about a year because I hated the Zoom so much. It was just not the same.
And from the technical side alone, it seems unmanageable.
Yeah, I mean, it's a whole different beast. And like I said, that's like the human interaction thing isn't there. And like, this is the art of it, the art of the conversation.
So as someone who's made it 350 deep into a series-based show, what have you to offer for advice of making it through those like lulls or doubts or periods of, because it's not all up and up and up. And it's not I think people think creating something is a linear process from the outside. It's like, oh, just start the thing and do the thing and blah, blah, blah. It's like, no, lots of setbacks and messes up. And I don't actually want this anymore. How do you keep excited, Nobody wants this. Let's be honest.
This is a great garage. Yeah, very Marin-esque. Yeah. Who wouldn't want this garage is what I'm getting at.
Well, I mean, we were thinking like you could either fit 20 seats and do comedy in the doorway for people, or we could make it a podcast studio. So I
mean, definitely people have done things like that. When Dead Room first started coming around, they were doing things in their house like that. And
I love that underground hardcore kind of vibe.
Yeah, I mean, at first I was like, what are we doing here? But I mean, that's kind of, they feel like they made their bones that way. And like, that's something they take a lot of pride in. Like, we just did stuff, which, they're continuing to do, I'm not trying to talk shit on the Dead Room guys. No. I mean, they do stuff. But it's like, that's a very cool thing. I guess I came from like more of like a, something has to be polished before you put it out there for people kind of mentality. But I think that's just like an old school thing.
Is that something that you had when you started the podcast, or you kind of gained along the way in terms of like, how do you, because I never feel like anything's good enough.
Well, yeah, I think it's like a perfectionist thing of like wanting something to be polished before you put it out there. But I mean, just like with joke writing or anything like that, you have an idea, you go up on stage and you try it. Like, that's the only way to get it better. I've been recently trying to do a lot more long form writing, and a lot of stuff of that is like, you just get done. Like, get the first draft out. The first draft is like always going to be shit, and that's where you build from. So just getting it done is kind of the thing. And I mean, that's, that metaphor applies to the podcast as well. Going back to your original question about, just doing the thing is the thing is what I've gotten, because my podcast, Left Hand, Right Brain, hey, check it out, is all about, the tagline is an exploration of creativity. So I've had a bunch of different artists from all over, the spectrum, and the number one thing is like doing the thing is the thing. Talking about writing a book isn't writing a book. It isn't what's going to make you a writer. Talking about starting a show in your garage isn't going to make you a comedian. It's like doing it is what makes it what it is. And that's the biggest takeaway. Is just like if you're doing it, then and no one's going to dub you. No one's going to kneel you down and knight you as an artist. You just gotta one day be like, okay, this is what I'm doing. And the only way to get that kind of self-esteem is by doing esteemable acts kind of a thing. So like, once you're doing it, then hopefully you feel that way, or you never do. And, you fade into obscurity, whatever.
Right.
That's also a possibility you have to be okay with.
So what, in terms of adversity or like setbacks, other than navigating, you started, I think, with a co-host and then you kind of rebranded.
JDJO, still out there.
Shouts. Like what adversity have you faced with that type of decade-long longevity of a show?
I mean, mostly just people being like, what? Podcast? Like, what is it even about? Like, oh God, just another white guy doing a podcast. Or, just things like that. It's really just, not just having confidence in your own thing, having enough drive or want to, not let those things keep you from pursuing what you want to do, I guess. I'm mostly in my own way, nobody's really telling me I can't, there's no one. The biggest thing maybe is a financial thing here and there, it's like, oh, I would like to get this mixer. I would like to get this camera, but you figure it out, and then you move on. Everything's just been small steps. And
then the big step recently was jumping to video, you said, right?
Yeah. That was a big financial jump, had to save up from that, but I really visualized it and achieved, manifested.
Yes. The cameras just came out of thin air after enough thinking. You're like, whoa.
Yeah, I placed an order and some guy came, I would assume, and put them on my doorstep, but manifesting, yes. Ordering off Amazon, kind of the same thing.
Is basically right? Manifesting.
Yeah. But no, yeah, just getting more work as a podcaster, like editing things, audio editing. I went to school for video production.
Wow.
Was always
more.
School? I went to Metro State, and I went to Ames Community College in Greeley.
Nice.
Shout out Ames. Armadillos.
My parents met in Ames, Iowa.
Oh, okay.
So, go Ames,
big connection.
All around.
Yeah. It's a conspiracy.
Take your aim where you want, folks. It's not my place to talk.
But yeah, I loved radio. I loved because I loved the Slacker and Bo afternoon show. I loved talk radio. My mom always used to listen to talk radio when she'd take us to school in the mornings and stuff. So I was always into that part, even over the music. Because my mom was like really into rap. She'd listen to KS 107.5, and I wasn't as into the music as I was listening to the DJ's banter. So I loved that part. And when I was getting out of high school, I was like, oh, I love radio stuff. What should I do? And it was the Slacker and Steve show at that point on Alice 105.9. They're the afternoon guys. And so I emailed them and I was like, hey, how would I do what you do? And I got an email from Steve, I think it was, or, I don't know, probably a producer guy, but it said from Slacker and Steve. And it was like, hey, you can go to broadcasting school or you could just start working somewhere. And I was like, oh, I want to go to broadcasting school. So I got into Ames because they had a broadcasting thing. Saw the video production side of it, got pulled into that because I was like, no way, video. So I want to be in front of the camera. I always wanted to be in front of the camera. I was kind of too shy. And I was like, okay, I could do behind the camera is where I thought I'd be comfortable. If I'd direct things. It was all about control. I want control of what I'm doing,
Love that.
So I was like, oh, I'll direct.
With a hat like that, if you said, I don't want any control, I'd be like, that hat needs to go on someone else's head. Like, I give this man control. Look at his hat. It just adds up. It aligns.
Yeah, I was wearing more of a director's Kingle style hat back then. Life defined by hats, maybe, is what my biography could be. But yeah, so I started getting into the video production stuff. Kind of left the radio to the wayside, and
did you do like a college radio show at any point?
No, I was on a friend of mine's college radio show every now and then, and that was like enough for me at that point.
Yeah,
I cursed one time, and he was like, "He can't come back."
Wow, because
I got a bigger deal on radio.
Yeah.
But
the feds come for you then.
Yeah, I doubt anybody was listening, but
I had a little college radio show.
He got very upset about it.
Yeah, well, Because it probably comes back on the person, whoever's like name is associated with the show. It's probably the professor ultimately. But
his name was Ollie. He used to do audio production as well here. Like he did stuff for the Grolics. I remember he'd do stuff at the Deer Pile. I'd see him here and there.
Awesome.
I don't know if he's still around. Ollie,
shout out Ollie. I hope you see this, man.
Yeah, dude.
Come on the pod, man. I don't know you, but come on the pod.
Yeah, so I fell in love with the directing, video production stuff, and I was like, and I really loved learning at that point. I was like, I'm having a good time, like I'm understanding math and all that jazz, so I kind of fell in love with learning at that point, is what I would say. So
I was
didn't
like it in high school?
No, I hate everything. Was such a grind back then. It was like, because I was in the remedial classes and all those things. Like I hated reading. It was hard. My aunt, God bless her, she would tutor me every Wednesday from like middle school through high school.
Wow.
I would go to her house every Wednesday and she would help me with my homework, things like that.
What was her background?
She was a teacher.
Okay,
yeah, she was a teacher. She was a second grade teacher good for like 30 plus years. Yeah. God bless you.
People like that in the world.
Yeah. It was invaluable to me. I mean, that's how I made it through. And, she gave me a love for reading, but in the sense of like loving stories. Because reading's still hard for me. I listen to everything on audio now. I mean, I love audiobooks. And, I'm going through 3 to 4 audiobooks a month, a lot of them are Harry Potter, but, I'll throw in Sapiens here and there, something like that.
Some Harari, something.
Yeah, and then I'll get back to Twilight, but.
Have you ever tried the thing where you have the physical book and listening to the audiobook?
No, because usually I'm doing stuff. I'm like doing the dishes. I'm working out. I'm driving.
In terms of like if you had an interest in growing that, like, actually reading skill, I've heard or read studies that like if you're listening to audiobook and you read the words along the way, that can like help reinforce those neural pathways.
Yeah, it wasn't until my last semester of college one of my teachers was like, you might have some undiagnosed dyslexia. He's like, man, if we would have known this right at the beginning, we could have done all these things for you. Like, I guess there are programs where someone will read the textbooks for you, like, you have to read chapters this through this today, and someone else will read it and you can listen to it. And I was like, dude, I would have fucking aced my shit. But I like got by on C's in college, but that is what it is. But what I was getting at, so I fell in love with directing and like being behind the camera. Mm-hmm. And then I did a couple short films in school, and I had a real hard time communicating what I wanted from the actors. So I was like, oh, when I go to Metro, I'm going to take a couple acting classes, and fell in love with that. So I fell in love with acting, getting into that, and I like something. My 2-year, getting my bachelor's at Metro after the 2 years at Ames ended up taking me 4 years because I just took all the fucking theater classes I could, and
yeah, what's the rush, right?
Yeah, whatever. I was just racking up those loans, which is crippling now. But
I think we should just write those off. Come on,
yeah, come on,
the government, just write them off. Just take a write off.
Yeah, that would be great. But anyway, yeah, so I fell in love with acting and then being in front of the camera and doing that stuff, and I lost where I was getting at. Control.
So as an actor, did you get to do projects through that 4-year period, like short films, little things?
Yeah, I directed a short film at Ames. We did a couple things because at Ames they had all this equipment and they would just let you go. You could rent it out and like you could just go do stuff. And I ended up doing like this weird thing where I went to New York, a paid like thing to New York, where I just shot this like volleyball, softball, like club thing. And their whole thing was like, we get girls softball and baseball or volleyball ready for like college. Like this is like a college level thing. And they're like, and we do this thing once a year where we go to New York and they do like these intensive training things. And then we also go to like Broadway shows and things like that. And they're like, well, we want an ad for it. So can you come and shoot that? And then you get to go on the trip with us. So I did that, and
sweet deal.
Yeah. And Ames just let me take the camera. They're like, yeah, you can just take it. So I was just so used to the college being like, yeah, you're a rock star. Fucking take your shit and like go. And when I got to Metro, they were like, oh no, you couldn't even touch a fucking Walmart digital camera without being at least a semester in. And like they were just so locked down of like, you don't get to touch the equipment.
I think there's a misalignment understanding when you're young in high school. Like community college does have some really great benefits if you're going for certain reasons, like trade or a specific thing, that program that particular college like puts money into. Oh my goodness.
Yeah, it was so it was a little
stark, that kind of
it was
contrast
frustrating.
back.
It's frustrating. And I think one of the things that drove me to comedy is because comedy is like a lot of things with acting and video work is like hurry up and wait. You know, like we're trying to get the idea together. I got to get this guy to buy in the idea. I got to get you to buy in the idea. Got to get someone to do the audio to buy in the idea. You know, so it's like, but with a joke, I mean, comedy, I could think of a joke and go out and try it that night. So it's like, that was very freeing to me. So I got drawn into that realm and, never looked back.
So were you at Metro when you did your first comedy set, or?
Yeah. I mean, I was in college doing my, thing, and would go out at nights.
Oh, so were you like a fan going to shows first initially? Or?
Yeah, I was dating a girl who did improv as well. And she was going to the Bovine. Shout out Bovine, no longer around. And she was like, oh, I think you'd do better at stand-up, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, yeah, I always thought that would be cool. And we went into El Torito on downtown, right by the ballpark. No longer around, RIP. And I saw their comedy night, and like anybody who gets in the game sees this comedy night going on and thinks, oh, I could do better than that. And Timmy Lasley was hosting at the time, and the next week I showed up and signed up and got on last and did some vaguely homophobic things, and she thought there was enough
redeemable qualities
to be like, hey, maybe you don't have to say this part of the joke or whatever. And I was like, yeah, that's true. Okay, yeah. And and then I tried it here and there, dabbled, and it wasn't until I broke up with that girl broke up with me that I was like, I'm gonna show you, I'm gonna be so funny. I'm really gonna get back at you by being good at comedy.
Yeah.
By grinding it out in these open mics for fucking 10 years. Because one time, actually, what really got me is there was a old episode of the podcast, Just Some Friends, and you can check it out on JDJO. He was a improv teacher. And he actually ended up hooking up with my co-host at that point. And but they were also friends with my ex-girlfriend at the time. And she was like, oh, we went and saw Justin at this show. It made my panties so wet seeing him on stage. Like, just, a guy doing his thing. Goofy improv. And so I was so jealous when she said that. I was so fucking jealous. So, I mean, that's what's been driving me ever since. I'm waiting for a woman to say, your jokes are so good. My panties are wet because of what you were doing.
That actually answers my first question, which was, how do you get through, the long periods, and how do you keep that drive alive?
Spite.
Really.
Yeah, really. That's
proving that bitch wrong.
Very nice person.
Nice
I'm
lady,
sorry. Yeah, I was hurt at the time.
Throwing around that word is a joke, buddy. I'm sure you're lovely.
Yeah, she is. She's great. I've actually been very fortunate. I've been with a lot of great women that have made me better. So,
well, I mean, I think that having a perspective and getting that, whether you've been with them or not, but having the perspective to move forward maturely and take some growth out of life's experiences.
That also took a decade of therapy. So.
Oh, well.
Also very lucky when I first came to Denver, a friend of mine was like, hey, maybe you should get into therapy. And I did that, looked through People House, which is like kind of a sliding scale thing that I encourage anybody to check out. And I found a therapist that I really clicked with, like immediately. She was the first person, because a lot of people have to kind of like date around with therapists at first. A lot of people kind of have not great experiences, so you got to kind of find somebody who fits with you. But I was very lucky, found somebody, and then I almost took with her for about a decade.
Wow.
The only reason I stopped going is because she closed her practice. And, or at least that's what she told me.
That's the story that I was fed.
But,
dang.
No, yeah. And that was life-changing for me.
And what, so just that friend telling you to go is what you're, and then.
Yeah, because I had a lot of anger. I have a lot of, daddy issues.
Got it.
A lot of anger towards my father, and, things were coming out in weird ways because I didn't know how to.
Gotcha.
Process my anger.
Okay. Was your dad in your life or no?
Yeah, when I was younger, he was, and he was very abusive to all my brothers and my sister and stuff. And he got in trouble when I was like 13, 14. He got taken out of the house, and it was for like a sexual assault thing. And so he couldn't be around kids under 18. That's just kind of a blanket thing they do for sex offenders. And so, yeah. But again, one of the best things that happened in my life, because that gave me the freedom to like kind of figure out who I am and what I'm, what I would like to do with my life.
Are you the oldest of your siblings, or?
Well, it's kind of a complicated, because my mom had 2 kids before she met my dad.
Okay.
And then, so I'm the oldest of my father's kids.
Got it.
And then I have a little sister, and then my mom remarried, and then that, we have a whole like Brady Bunch thing going on.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, so very big family now. Love them all. They're great. But yeah, it was confusing back then. I was like, trying to be my own person, and it was hard to get out of that shadow, kind of a thing.
Yeah, it kind of looms in your life to grow up around those type of people.
Yeah. And but yeah, just my whole thing was like, I can't be like my dad. I'm not an angry person, because my dad, would get angry and he would hit people. And I was like, and I even like grew up learning martial arts when I was like 11 to like 21. I, did Kempo, karate, and jujitsu. And like one of the first initial things that my aunts and uncles all got together and paid for this first year of karate for me was because they wanted me to be able to defend myself against my dad. So Whoa. It's like, it's crazy. It is like a weird, it can get pretty dark if you get into it, but it's an interesting. It was just it's a big motivating factor in my life, and don't worry, my hands, deadly weapons.
Yeah, goodness, you've had a lot that's made you better. Seems
I've been very fortunate. I've been very fortunate. Like. Yeah, very fortunate to have people around me that supported me, during the dark times.
So with that experience and with family being so close, you're married. Do you want kids yourself?
No, we're not going to have kids. And ultimately it's because I don't think I don't want to do those things to another person, that my dad did to me. I don't want to lose my temper, be angry. And it's funny because I've talked to my uncle, my dad's brother. I'm very close to him, and he has the same thing. Like he actually, went through a divorce because his wife wanted kids at the time. And he was like, I'm too worried about my anger getting the better of me, and I don't want to do that. And I can identify with that so much, even though I've done all the therapy and stuff, it's like, it's hard. It's a constant practice. It's not, you're just better now. It's something you have to deal with every day, kind of a thing. So
yeah,
I wouldn't want to do that. So
they don't really understand how the brain works. It's just floating in soup. Then the consciousness, and then you wake up, you go to bed, you go somewhere else, you're back. It's like, they don't really get it. So to think that it's going to be like, I've done my decade or 10,000 hours of, digging at the thing, and now I'm good. It's like, life will throw you one more wrench, and then you're back to 3 squares from the finish.
I recently had oral surgery, and they put me under. And the funny thing is, they were like, we don't know. I was looking up how the anesthetic works, and they were like, we don't know.
Yeah, dude, they don't.
The thing is that they don't know.
And they make a ton of money.
They're just not know. It does somehow. Who knows?
But they have like a reasonable, like within what they think's a reasonable statistical understanding to just say, yep, good enough.
Yeah, and they're like, maybe your brain is experiencing all the pain, you just won't remember. But then, people do, it doesn't work on everybody 100% of the time. So, I had to stop myself from watching too many horror stories of that, like people waking up during their procedures or remembering the whole thing.
And then I read recently that in like 5 or 6 states, some healthcare company was going to not pay for full anesthesia for procedure surgery.
And then the Luigi thing happened.
And then someone stepped out for a conference meeting.
Some hero came out of the morning.
Someone got Starbucks and they were ready to go.
Yeah, that's fucked.
Yeah, it's fucked.
But yeah, sorry, I didn't mean to get too serious on the pod. But we're having fun. Huh? We're having a good time.
This is a pod
I
where
think you need the humor to get through the dark times. So I think that's something I was also, I was drawn to.
Personally, myself, I connect a lot with what you're talking about with your dad and worry for anger. Worry for anger. I had to listen to a lot of C words get thrown around in the car when my younger sister was 6 and I was 8 and parents divorced, like things like that. And whatnot. But I'm fortunate that I wasn't, worse, and to think that I also have to both want and value family and also don't want to ever hurt that family that you'd want to have. It's like tough. It's very tough.
Yeah. I see you have a Christopher Titus poster up here, and he was one of the first comedians I really identified with because, his whole show, Titus, was about, like making, like the fucked up people are the norm now, I really latched onto that. And I really
was that predictive programming. Didn't he get canceled? What was his thing? Someone said recently that he did something bad or there was some controversy with him.
I don't know if he's
was there like a thing, like a big event or
not that I know of, but I'm sure he talks about, says his
Christopher Titus. We look up if there's any controversy. It's that I don't know about because he's so talented. I got to see him. He's coming back. I think
dude, Comedy Works. One of the first comedy shows I went with the girl I was talking about, the improv lady. She took me to go see Christopher Titus, and I have a bunch of pictures of us in 2013.
Wow.
And I bought his whole box set back then.
Yeah.
I had the DVDs of his show. I loved that show, dude. It was so.
I honestly
transformative for me.
I've never seen it. I need to check it out.
Well, his whole thing is like, his parents are divorced. He came from an abusive family, blah, blah, blah. And like, just making humor out of that, so accepting it so you can make jokes about it. I remember hearing him on Jay Moore's podcast back in the day. And he was like, you really have to be through the pain before you can make jokes about it. And that's something I really latched onto because, I mean, me, like any other, artist that's hurting about, anything, it's like you almost try to make your art your therapy. Which it's not. It can be therapeutic, but going up there and fucking cutting your veins open on stage to try and get over your daddy issues or, the person that hurt you isn't ultimately funny, and two isn't going to help you in any, the long run.
It's hard.
Yeah, dude, it is.
Because everyone that's trying it's coping with comedy, right? Like through their life struggles.
We're all coping with comedy. What do you got, Jamie? Young Jamie?
From what I could find, doesn't really seem to be like anything that's like majorly controversial.
Yeah, I never thought he's always been an ally, in my opinion.
I thought so. That's why someone said
it's not my place.
It was mostly like corporate issues.
Corporate crap.
Interview with Raw Dog 104, and the show got canceled because he had an argument with the executives over the content.
Okay.
That led to a lot of not support.
Okay, so it's industry back end door crap. That's
apparently Bill Burr had a lot to do with similar content in the era, and that like took away a lot of attention from him.
Oh, he got usurped by the Burr man. Interesting. Huh.
No, he hasn't done anything like controversial or
okay, well, retract all my statements here.
Yeah, he should check out his show.
I mean, I better do that before he comes back to town. So.
But it's very I meant just his stand up. He does a very like one man showy type thing. He's got the Britney Spears earpiece.
He's got to be one of the only performers left in the world.
That's what makes him so different. Yeah, I mean, and he had to kind of forge his own path too, doing that thing because it's so different than Seinfeld or whoever was back in the day when he was starting, early 90s.
Yeah, he's been through, to make it 30 years in comedy, man.
Dude, I had Jackie Cation on recently, and she was talking about she started comedy in 84.
Yeah.
Dude, it's crazy. And she had some stories about old Titus. I could tell you. I mean, I can't tell you because she told me confidential.
Yeah, right.
Confidentiality.
Jackie's hilarious.
Anyway, the pod's gone through a lot of different iterations, exploration of creativity. Then I just tried to make it a Denver comedy gossip pod for a little while. And now I think it's just like Denver comedy. What do you think?
Yeah, that seems like what I mean. You seem to stand on the shoulders of the scene and lift up other people as much as you can.
Oh, so thank you. Yeah,
that's my perception.
Yeah, when you think, because I've been trying to get in this whole thing about branding.
We were just talking about it.
Oh, interesting.
Do I need to rewrite my bio? Do people read bios? That kind of stuff.
Well, when you think of left hand, right brain, what do you think of?
Hats and you. That's probably a good thing that I think of you and yourself. You like your face.
Yeah, I mean, I have been called the Pod King of Denver and also the most stylish comedian.
There you have it.
Sorry, Sammy.
Sammy's gonna have a case.
I mean, he's got a drip, but it's different. I mean, I've had him on the pod. We buried the hatchet, and
white drip to get to that level of drip is like it's like you're extra.
They're different. We're different lanes,
Yeah, this lane's not supposed to go 75. You see me going 80. Come on.
Yeah, my lane. I'm on a horse. Yeah, and he's in a sports car.
Right. Exactly. That's
different paces. I mean, that's something also. I mean, just being in comedy for so long, I was just re-listening to a pod I did in 2015 because it's like a diary for me now. It's like a journal. All this stoic people are talking about keeping journals and stuff, and I'm like, I've basically been doing that. And so I went back to see where I was in January of 2015, and I'm talking about a lot of the same stuff, like how do people perceive me, like how am I what am I trying to do on stage, but I mean, there are things that I've grown. I have a wife now, which is great. If I could have gone back and told that kid, chill out, buddy, you're okay, that would have been nice. But I mean, I wouldn't have believed myself, but
time travel's not real, JD.
Yeah, it's just so funny about it's like, man, you're thinking about the same stuff. It's interesting. But I mean, back then I was like, oh, I don't want to be the guy 10 years in comedy still just going to open mics, or like when I'm 57. But I'm like, my perspective's so different now. It's like, if that's what I enjoy, who gives a shit? Like that's my thing. Because back then I was like, oh, I have to be the next fucking Seinfeld, or I'm failing, and now it's like I might never get there, but if I'm having fun going to mics and telling jokes, then that's the win. Like that's should be good enough.
Yeah, that's the green grass on the other side. Yeah, exactly. Have you produced shows in town?
Oh yeah, I do a comedy show called Comedy Say the Video Starts, a music video comedy mashup show.
Hell yeah.
I started doing it maybe 7-8 years ago.
Wow, it's got to be one of the longest running shows then.
Yeah, I know. You just stick around long enough. I think that's something Jay Leno said. It's like you just stay in line, and you do get known. I mean, because I think Left Hand Right Brain is the longest running Denver comedy podcast.
Gotta be,
as far as I know. At least I'm claiming it. And but I mean, Comedy Say, it's gone through a lot of venues. It was at Mutiny Information Cafe for a long time, because when I started that, the Saturday night show at Mutiny was like a place, dude. That was like a thing. Now we're gonna build it up. They're building it up back in Inglewood now, but Broadway's gone through some hard times, and just like Denver and the post-pandemic and all that jazz. But I've been doing that most recently at Western Sky Bar and Tap Room. So it's not a consistent monthly thing at the moment. But I'm looking for venues. But it's like a multimedia show, because the comics come on, they do some stand up, and then they pick music videos that they love or had some kind of connection to when they were kids or whatever. And then they tell a little personal story about why they picked it, and then we watch it and riff over it. Beavis and Butthead style.
That's sick.
It's awesome. Yeah, I love it. I love doing it. I've been trying to figure out how to maybe do it on YouTube or whatever, but the copyright issue I think comes up with the music videos and things. So but I'm looking for a new venue to maybe do it at. But you need a projector. You need someplace I can plug my computer in to do the videos, and then there are a lot of mics on stage. So somebody who knows what they're doing with audio would be nice. That's what's so awesome about Western Sky, because Harrison Garcia, comedian, but also knows a lot about audio stuff, so he can feedback. He knows how to fucking what EQ to knob to press and whatnot. So it's been a good place for Comedy Say the Video Star. But I would also I want people to know more about it. It's like I'm getting to this point where all these young comics don't know what's going on.
Yeah, sure.
So I need part of me wants to just be like, hey man, fucking. I'm going to show you today, I guess, kind of a thing. I want them to know a little bit. But the roast thing is so big now that right after pandemic, that thing really took over. And those, the Dead Room guys and, Austin Langley and stuff, they really just took that and ran with it. So, I mean, it's I don't know if it's quite a trend right now, but I mean, I've seen things coming in and out of fashion with comedy in the last 10 years. And that's just so big right now. It's like, if you're not doing a roast show, if you're not trying to do Kill Tony, it seems like no one cares, but I mean, it's not that, it's just trying to find my audience, I guess. And that's why I've also been thinking about the branding thing, which sounds a little real corporate, I'm trying to sell out.
It's kind of
this my camera.
Yeah. How would that's my camera
close
too.
up right here.
Zoom in on that. Yeah, that's there it is.
I keep hitting this fucking boom arm with my hat.
So what,
should I stop wearing the hat? People too identify with the hat.
Oh, it's too much.
Am I a prop comic at this point?
But you have to understand something. I'm going to be a prop comic because I'm 6'9", if that's the argument. So that's a dumb.
I mean, people love tall. You seen Jeff Tice? He's fucking all over the place. Tall white guy on stage. People listen.
And other places. Tall white guys. They seem to have. I mean, it's crazy.
You got a leg up, and you're tall. I've been recently trying to do a whole joke about how I don't know what women find attractive, but the consensus seems to be tall. If you're over 6 feet, you can get away with a lot. I don't know. They must not be able to see the red flags that high or something. But I mean, dude, you're fucking.
I forgot to do the joke last night. That's the one joke I forgot to do. People say
show last night.
People say things to. Well, it was a while ago now. People say things to me that you'd never be able to say about other physical characteristics. People are like, "Wow!" You could never be like, "Wow, you're black." And I get this all the time in my life.
I heard if you go to other countries, they are like that.
There you go. There's a tag.
Japan or something.
Thank you. There's a good tag. Yeah, if you go to a homogeneous white place or Asian place, there's 6 or 10 countries on Earth left where they're that homogeneous.
Yeah, people are like, let me touch your hair, but they can only reach your knees or something.
Well, I had an interesting idea a while back. Could we fund a trip to Japan just off of charging people in Japan money to take pictures with me when we're in Japan?
Maybe. Sam Talent did that thing where he went to Japan, and he's
yeah, I'm sure if he wanted
an oddity there.
Oh, for sure.
That's the kindest word I can think of.
Very large man. I ruined his one joke that he's like, "Is there anyone bigger than me here tonight?" And I'm always like, I have to be the one person like, yes.
At Comedy Works?
Just whenever he does that joke, it's like he never finds bigger people.
Always doing his one joke.
It's a great joke.
What does he do after that? Because he's only got the one joke.
No, dude. Does he not? He doesn't.
He riffs a lot. He's a big in the moment guy.
Dude, I got buried under the church recently at our staff open mic on New Year, or at the end of
Comedy Works does a staff open mic
at the end of the month. We're doing it.
Interesting. So, that's very interesting.
So we at that end of the month, we at South didn't do one. We went to the downtown club because Sam was down. Finishes up his weekend.
Sam Talent, everybody.
Sam Talent, the man. So we're like, oh, Sam's going to host. Oh, no, he's not going to host. Sam goes up. He does the 15 funniest minutes I've ever fucking been in there.
Guy's
before.
Guy's a pro.
Ripping on, inside baseball stuff. Server's not giving him his Coke quick enough. Just hilarious. And then he goes, well, I've sold out 6 shows. I'm not going to stay here all night. So I'm going to bring up your host, Sean. And then I, got buried below the church. And then, partway through my set, I'm bombing. My co-host is laughing at me because I'm bombing. Not because I'm funny, because I'm bombing. And I hear
that's where it starts.
Roar's laughter in the green room. And I pause and I go, I just want to acknowledge that Sam is crushing harder in the green room than I will ever be able to crush up here. And that got a big laugh. And then I got, some pity laughs along the rest of the way, and then got off, and it was like, suicide could work. What's my timing like? But no, it was a dream I didn't know I had, getting buried under the church by Sam Talent.
Yeah.
So
I don't know if I got buried under the church, but I mean, he used to host the Lions Lair. And so I got roasted by him quite a bit. So
would he do, like, after your set, he would take time to?
Well, him and Byron Graham would host it together when I was starting, so they would do like a tag team thing, and let's just say Byron was the nicer one. I mean, Sam's great. Don't get me wrong. I do love him. I do think when he was like going away, like to Las Vegas, I think, because his wife had gotten like a doctor internship there or something like that to do a residency, and like so they had this big party where he's going to, and people were like, oh, he's the comedy quarterback, I don't know, of like the Denver scene, whatever. So I got a football and I had everybody sign it with a Sharpie, and I like gave it to him, like it was like, because I'm sentimental fucking dummy, and I like gave it to him, and I was like, hey man, but he was like probably so fucked up on something, he was just like, oh man, thanks, and then like just discarded it. He's never brought it up since, but that was a big moment for me.
Have you had him on the pod?
Not since then. No, I think when he wrote his book, I did a Zoom with him, but he's just so busy. He's so hard to get a hold of. I did a Zoom with him. And it didn't come up. I didn't bring it up.
Yeah.
But I wonder if he remembers it.
That would be fun to have him come back if he's ever in town again. Try to get him on. But yeah, like you said, he's just so...
Yeah.
He's never gonna... He's surpassed what we're able to contact
through
Instagram.
He's on Kill Tony.
Dude, all regular, basically. He's a regular guest. Panelist.
Comedians of your generation, is that like what your goal is to get on Kill Tony?
Well, I went down to Austin in... August, September, something like that, to spend the weekend with some family and to do spots, to try to... I had like 2 spots that a buddy down there lined up, to get some stage time, and I was
at the mothership.
No, at like spots around Austin.
Okay.
And then I was like, I'm going to try to get on the open mic, and I'm going to try to get on Kill Tony. And so I got on the open mic on Sunday, and then didn't get on Kill Tony, so it was better because I got to do 3 minutes it's in the Little Boy, but whatever.
Was it cool?
Yeah, it's awesome. It's legit, dude.
Yeah.
Very scary.
How does it compare to Comedy Works?
I mean, it was like it's a different club, but like the room that I was in, it's great. It was full for an open mic.
Yeah.
So yeah, people bought tickets to see, random people at an open mic. So yeah.
Did you get any cultural cachet because you're a Denver comedian, or did they not give a shit there? Because I feel like saying you're a Denver comedian used to have...
I don't really...
some kind of sway back in the day.
I think it still does. I wasn't at that time, like, I don't even know if now I'd be like, I'm a Denver comedian, like...
You wouldn't say that?
Nah, I'm just some fucking guy that's like trying to... I'm like going to be funny in 25 years, dude. Like,
no one's going to dub you. I mean, no one's going to knight you.
Yeah,
what are you going to... When will you start
comics in the fucking bio or whatever. Yeah, no, like, whatever. Like, I'll be labeled a radical, radical whatever.
I mean, that Trump book is hard to...
It's blank, dude.
People.
It's blank.
Yeah, but I mean, it's still like...
It's still... Hey, listen. I grew up with these liberal... libertarian or librarians and these liberal teachers that never laughed, never smiled. They look like they hated life, and these ladies look like they had never gotten, laid the right way. And I thought they would never laugh at anything. And I think this is the first thing, JD, that I'm confident that they would laugh at.
I mean, it's
so that's all I cared about with this idea.
We're talking about branding. No one's getting past the cover. It's a hard one.
Okay.
The joke's in there. That's what's like so hard. It's like,
do you not see his tiny little hands? I mean, come on. Look at how small his hands are, JD. You can't tell that that's a joke? Come on.
Who did the art? Was it
Lila Swanson.
Okay.
Lila Swanson is my
shout out.
No, you're right. It is. People are just
hard.
So divisive with it.
Yeah, it's hard.
As someone that can find humor in politics, some people can't. That's just how it is.
Yeah. Do you find there's a lot of forgiveness and nuance with newer comics of your generation? Like if you're up there and you're like, women are bitches, huh? Like, it's not ever going to shut off.
No, my generation was a bunch of soft cucks, right? Like compared to previous generations.
Where my soft cucks at? That should be your opener.
Yeah, feminists, raise your hand. Oh wait, that's everybody.
Where my feminists at?
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I think there's a swing back where like now I think a lot of like young men are thinking that need to be.
I don't think women are bitches. I just want to
clear. I think a lot of young men now are like swinging back to the right or whatever.
The R word, making a hard comeback.
I mean,
hard R comeback.
Good. I mean, not that hard R. We don't want that coming back at all.
Oh my God. You know what I did?
Be terrible.
I had an N-word bit when I started.
Did you?
Yeah.
My first 5 minutes I wrote was basically, to sum it up, it was, I'm black enough to say the word midget. Like I'm tall enough to say that was my first 5 minutes.
That's funnier than mine was, yeah.
No, it wasn't.
I thought so.
I appreciate it.
I went back and I listened to that podcast. I said the N-word on the mic. I was like, God damn, I had some fucking
wow.
I was ignorant back then.
Yeah. Well, I mean that's
the whole joke was that do you know who Dick Black was?
Yes. Okay.
Yeah, Dick Black, we were hanging out at an open mic and he goes, man, you're my N-word. And I was like, but I would say the N-word, on stage when I was saying, and I would be like, I know that's bigger than someone saying I love you. God, I was so dumb. I think everybody goes through those stages. I just hope for forgiveness.
I think it's one of those things where like
we are all trying to push the boundaries.
I think we need to draw a hard circle around it, like intent, and be like, okay, the intent of this is within the realm of comedy. It's just a hard circle of like free speech around this thing, and like you're allowed to be offended and allowed to be upset, but like we do also have to be like acknowledging that this is a circle of intent around this trying to push the envelope or be funny thing.
Yeah.
And then you should also be called out if you're not being funny and you're just being racist or you're just being sexist or you're just being a piece of shit.
Yeah. I mean, Louis C.K. was like the biggest comic when I started and he was saying the N-word. So I was like, I can do it.
I mean,
like I'm Mexican. I could do it. My last name's Lopez, which I have to constantly remind people on stage all the time.
Yeah. You're white passing as it gets.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, on the Lopez spectrum of passing,
let's just say I got a loan.
You're on the white side.
Yeah, for sure.
White side of the wall.
I did have Josh Emerson on, and he told me how white I was. So.
Oh, dude, he does not.
I was like, I'm Portuguese. He's like, that's white. I was like, oh,
classic.
I mean, the more I learn about Portugal, my Portuguese side of heritage, were the tip of the spear for slave trade. Not ideal.
I mean, they a lot of ships passing by.
Good.
What do you want? Nobody not going to get involved.
Sorry.
All those ships coming by. You're like, what are those? You're just going to keep looking at them.
They were
by?
like, hey, we have all these ships. They're like, have you guys ever tried sailing?
We could teach you. Yeah. It's a sell a man a slave. He's only got one slave. Teach a man to slave trade.
Yeah,
that was Portugal's thing, not mine. Portugal's thing.
Yeah, sorry.
Hey, I'm Spanish. I'm of some Spanish descent too, so I understand that. It's I fought the battle with my old co-host Makana about our people from Spain white, and I think I've lost that one over and over and over again.
Yeah, they are.
They're white.
That's what.
I have to concede it. They're white.
Indigenous comedian Josh Emerson told me that as well.
Yeah. And Netflix has dubbed him the indigenous comedian. That's not just,
he gets it.
The executives are behind that branding. He's the man.
Yeah, he's great.
I'm so excited to. I supported their film. I'm excited to see it come out. I've been at working every time I've been had an opportunity to go see this showing, so I'm pumped for them.
I saw the one at Mutiny. Very good.
You excited for it?
Oh yeah.
I heard Jeff's doing some with Ren now too. That's exciting.
Yeah, he was talking about. I recently had them on the podcast. Hey, check it out.
Yeah.
And they were talking about all the things they got going.
Nice. Well, then I won't ask those same questions.
I'm the one who told Jeff, hey, maybe you should put down the poetry pen and pick up a camera.
Did you?
Yeah.
Wow. And he was making money on that poetry pen at the time too.
Yeah, he was busking hardcore. Yeah, busking with the boys.
Wow.
He was out there. I was embarrassed for him, because he would be doing comedy and open mic at like Rover, and then he'd be like, I got poetry here, everybody. I got poetry. But I mean, that's how he was making his living, so which is good for him. But
to be free and to make money off of poetry books you made, dude, but doing better than me. I've sold less books than him. Come on. It's the cover, fine.
It's the cover. I'm sorry. Yeah, it's not
too well executed of a idea. It's too good. Too well thought out. Goddamn.
I mean, maybe if you switched your audience.
I mean, the audience is whoever, dude. You can't. I don't get to decide who's.
You don't get to choose your
audience.
audience, but I think you can maybe point in the right direction.
I point consistently towards freedom.
Good. Me too.
Yeah. And also people like expressing ideas that are not easy to express or stories.
You can take them down from the inside,
I'm trying, dude. I'm a gonzo. Okay. I'm a gonzo capitalist, JD. I am literally trying to show you how bad the capitalism is by doing the capitalism. This is gonzo capitalism. I mean, I can't get any closer to what I'm trying to do with the thing. Yes. I am trying to take him down from the inside. I want Fox News to bring me on.
He wants to get inside
to
of
be
him.
to be like, hey, this book is hilarious. Liberals are so dumb, blah, 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 blah. And then I'd be like, yeah, but so are conservatives. And like the 2 books have gone viral that conservatives have fell for that are blank. But I had to come on Fox News to get liberals to buy this. That's from the inside. Yeah. What I long for, truly, I'm sorry that I'm right, but this is what you brought me to. I long to be Nick Mullen on Red Eye and tell John Bolton that he looks like an aging Groucho Marx. Like, I want to be the young kid on the panel with all these old fucking and I know enough about politics because I've been obsessed with learning about the world since too young of an age and disillusioned so that these people can't spill off my back and I just come on and they'd kick me off in a month because I'd not be a good returning guest. But that's what I want. Damn it. There's no show like Red Eye where they bring on people like that anymore. Bastards. That's why media is losing. You need Red Eye again. Fox. Listen up.
Hey, maybe we could build it right here.
From the TSS Fox News studios. My goodness. No, but I do think that actually, truly, if I was in a meeting with a media executive for a news network, I'd say, hey, guess what? You could get more people to get behind your brand and trusting you as a reliable source if you had 1 in 5 of your people just fuck around. Like 1 of the 5 people that is talking through the stories, they need to be making jokes about it and tearing down all the sides of it. Yeah, totally.
Before Russell Brand got really left, he was very fun on all those shows before he really went into whatever he's doing now. Yeah, I mean, he's only on Rumble now.
But I think that was where he got deplatformed because he was
got
pushing
disenfranchised by the man.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
He was talking about the vaccine, isn't it?
Dude, anybody with an accent, so charming.
I do think
I'm very jealous of anyone with an accent.
That was what his thing was, though, is he was so heavy into talking about the vaccine and
doubting the liberal establishment.
Yeah, they didn't like it. So they were like, yo,
Pfizer.
You don't get any ad money or career or outreach or anything. You can go over there to that extremist platform. And that's where he ended up.
I mean, he's probably making a better living now than he was before, to be honest.
Probably. Yeah. It's that thing with if you run a liquor store, you have to also realize that the people that are going to keep you in business are alcoholics, are that extreme portion of addicts to the thing that you peddle.
And I'm coming more and more okay with that as I get into comedy.
Yeah, it's part of the capitalism. It's gonzo. It's
you keep saying gonzo.
The worst thing is to be not with food and not be able to farm because nobody owns the farms. The state owns the farms, and they're not making food on those farms. That's worse than having to be like, is it? And I should get over the ethical qualms of selling a thing that people have to buy that maybe ruins their lives. I don't know. And so I think we could step back a few steps from I peddle drugs that ruin families. So Purdue Pharma. Yeah, maybe we should have some ethical concerns about whether what we're putting our livelihood towards is destroying human life. I think that's fair. But jokes or, you know, when we bring it, we seem to inject ethics and like moral things into, I think, too many things now. And we I think lose out on some advancement of humanity or some coming together on things where we do that. Perhaps.
Interesting.
Like we're more alike than we're not. And because we subsect out morality to the nth degree, we don't think we are almost.
So insensitive jokes will help us progress as a species.
I think both people that are upset by the same thing could learn that they're more like each other, and they'd never come together to learn that if they got mad at the same type of offensive thing.
I do think we're all a lot more alike than we are different. That's for sure.
That's not what they tell us, though, right? Do you think that's what they tell us?
No, not for sure.
I've been being met with this tough question of like, how old are you? That's
36.
So as a younger person in America, how are we to get this train back on the tracks? Or
Did you just call me old?
No, you're young. You're young.
Okay.
This side of 50 is young. You got half of your life to fix the thing. I think your idea is, you know, you're part of this, you know, movement of for the better. If we're going to have a movement, you'd be part of it.
Okay.
How the heck do we get people that are way over here and way over here to realize they're more alike than they are? Especially the people that are only in their echo chambers. I don't have a good answer for this.
Oh, yeah. No, it's, I mean, if you can't do it through humor, we have no chance. So was it George Carlin who said, you know, like best point, you know, to inject new ideas when like at the point of laughter or something like that?
Oh, okay. So maybe that's how. Maybe we need to have public policy that's in the form of hour-long stand-up specials.
I definitely think, you know, listening to each other and talking things out is a big part of it versus like, hey, don't platform that person or like silencing people. Not ideal. I mean, I'm not for, you know, hate speech, but I'm also like, hey, again, you know, if you want free speech, it's going to go both ways. I mean, you know, people are going to say some shit you don't agree with, you know, for sure. And I think most people would understand that these are dummies, you know, or these are idiots. These are ding dongs that, you know, have bad ideas, and hopefully the better idea will win. But, you know, a lot of people won't even get to that point. There's like, oh no, you've had this person on your show, then fuck you, you know.
Huh.
I mean, I've had a lot of controversial people on the show over the years, not knowing the controversy at the time, or it comes out later that they've had some kind of.
I had something like that get brought to my attention semi, and I was like, how do I navigate this? Do you have any advice? I'm like, just not.
I mean, I just left I keep it out there because I'm like, well, we had this conversation, and if you care to listen, there it is. And if not, then you weren't going to listen in the first place. So it's like, you know, it's there if you care. But I mean, yeah, there's been, unfortunately, not everyone's cool. So that's just how it ends up sometimes. But yeah, I think, you know, like this is the conversation we had, then, you know, it's there. You
kind of stand by it. And have you always done it where you try to minimally edit?
I mean, I've always edited the podcast. I mean, I've gotten a lot more lax than in the last few years, because I mean, I used to be so anal about like getting rid of every getting rid of, but wow. I mean, I don't take things out. I only take things out to enhance the conversation. Like if there's big gaps, I mean, I do these lightning round questions where I'm like, no, I want you to think about it if you need the time. So I'd rather you take the time to think about it and I can cut it out versus, you know, you just trying to give me a quick, unthought out answer. But I mean, I do these lightning round questions and I encourage people to give me first thing that comes to their head, but it doesn't have to be a one word answer, you know? So I'll take that out. I mean, every now and then, you know, I did have some controversy where I was trying to get a local comic to talk about his ex-girlfriend, who was another comic. And I was like, hey, come on, dude. I'm sure she's talking about you on her podcast, blah, blah, blah. And that kind of came back to bite me because that comic heard it. Well, she heard it secondhand from somebody else. And probably, you know, I don't know if she did listen to the whole thing, but she was like, I heard you're talking shit, basically. Like, you know, she, and it brought to my attention that, you know, this hurt somebody and I don't want to hurt anybody. So I took that part out. But ultimately, I mean, I'm not coming from a place of like trying to gotcha or get you or anything like that. So I think, you know, my intention and stuff is pure. So I've never had to do anything crazy like that.
Gotcha.
Or extreme.
Yeah. Have you ever had to take any episodes down? I know I've had some, like, in my early days, I had friends on that you got, like, unnecessarily worried about something that wasn't even there, or maybe was in some elements and not all. And so I just was, kind enough to just be like, yeah, we'll just take it down.
Yeah, I mean, I've had a one comic who was like, "Oh, I'm trying to get up at the club more, like get host more, and I talk some shit on this episode. Could you take that down?" And I think I just hit it off the website or something. I didn't actually take it down, but I told him I did. And it doesn't matter because he moved away, and it doesn't, nothing ultimately came of it. Which ultimately, I think a problem anybody would have with anything that's what it would come to, is like, it's just going to get buried under all the other content we have. So nobody's really digging around.
Yeah, see, there's a little thing I've learned, Chris. If you have enough content, you can hide horrible things. Like an hour into each episode, you can just go off the rails because nobody makes it there. Yeah, dude. Totally.
Which is a shame, because like you were saying on one of the last episodes, is like, this is where the juice is, trying to like clip it out for all the social media and stuff. It's like,
but also I feel so there's this internal battle where it's like, okay, the Christina episode, if there's something an hour into
Christina Vasily,
great episode, great. Yeah. She's talking to me about self-defense for women an hour into the episode, but for me to clip that and put it out and like on a platter serve the easy, but it's like, that is kind of my job. I kind of do have to do that. Yeah. So but it's like, no, you should mine and get to that point to understand why that's as important as it is, not just see the 60 seconds. So
but I'm always like, yeah, you need the context of the first hour of the episode for this thing to make sense, really. So it's like,
yeah, that's the thing. So the perception that other people would then have of the pod would be misplaced. So the brand then's off. I don't know. It's tough.
I mean, it's an interesting conversation, and that's so a part of it. But I mean, the people that wouldn't get through the first hour weren't. I mean, they're not going to stick around anyway. They're not actually going to be your fan. I think
that's it. Yeah, that's the ultimate core of the argument, is like, just put out the clips because you have to be in the arena doing the thing.
Yeah, you got to be where the people are. Which is why I got to get more TikToks. Yeah, I got to do more TikToks. Got to get on Red Note. No, my wife was like, I'm getting Red Note. And I was like, it seems okay. She loves TikTok. I've
heard China was like very quick to be like, don't let these people talk. Like, don't let the US people and us talk on this app. Like, because like our Chinese people are going to realize that they're not enemies. Like, they were getting along, like the American people and the Chinese people they're using Red Note or whatever to kind of
beautiful.
Yeah, but both governments, not a fan. Big anti getting along. China.
It is, yeah. It is a shame that these big things are
a lot of forces don't like kumbaya.
Yeah, you got
a lot of kumbaya fans around.
Hey man,
I mean, I like kumbaya. Let's kumbaya.
I mean, it's all about connection.
He's like, well, you can just shake my hand. You don't have to hold it.
I didn't realize it was going to be so long. It was mostly the song that got me feeling weird. If we would have just been in silence, that would have been better.
That suck. What can I say? That's right.
So how long have you been with your lady?
We've been about 3 years.
How'd you meet?
We met online.
Okay.
Yeah.
Tinder?
Bumble.
She reached out to you.
Yeah.
How often do you mention your height in your
It's just it's every character I get. It's just the numbers 6'9", 6'9", 6'9", 6'9". As many characters it will allow me on the app. It's all filled with that.
You're 6'9"?
Yeah.
God damn, dude.
Too tall to live.
Life must have been fucking a breeze for you. Grass is always greener, huh?
No, I think.
Yeah, I'm sure you want my body.
I recommend stopping at 6'5". That's my recommendation.
Huh. If I had
and don't manifest, because I was like, my uncle's 6'8.5". I'm going to be taller than my uncle, and look where that got me. Manifesting, don't be careful.
I just want to be taller than my dad, actually, so that worked out for me.
There you go. No, I mean, I got spinal fusion at 25, so
3 years. You guys are already living together.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of fast, huh?
Already getting engaged and all that.
Whoa,
living the dude. Living the good old fashioned 50s American dream here.
I know several people that moved in together less than 10 months.
Do you think that's an economic thing, or is it like
an economic thing?
Yeah, because I think I was with my wife for like maybe a couple of years before we moved together.
You think if it wasn't an economic thing, I'd be with anyone, dude? If I had $100 million,
like
you think I'd be with a person and not an android? Come on.
She's very nice and beautiful. She's in there doing the dishes. I mean, you did yell at her to do it, but I mean, that was kind of weird. But
that didn't happen. Usually I do the dishes. I'm falling behind.
She brought us sandwiches, and you said, "Get in the kitchen and do the dishes." No, she didn't do
Let's
it.
go.
He didn't yell at her. She just did it. So that's
and that's what is it? Reinforced training does.
He did mention dog training a lot, but I mean, he does have a puppy. But for some reason, the clicker when he was talking to his wife.
I haven't had to cut jokes in a while.
I'm sorry. No, she seemed like a very nice lady. I just love love. I mean, that's been one of the biggest things in my life is getting, having the I don't know, just like the confidence that comes with like having a partner that's like that relationship is solid. I mean, I couldn't have worn this hat if my wife hadn't given me the confidence to do that.
It's an unreal thing. And
the hat?
Well, both. The love your wife has for you and the hat, man.
Yeah, dude.
Come on.
Yeah. I mean, she's I think everything's out there. My comedy, just like the confidence I have in myself, because, it just
where did you guys meet?
We met through a mutual friend, through the podcast, actually, because we were doing this Appetites podcast, and we went to a local theater called the Betsy Stage at the time. My wife was acting in a play there. And our first conversation, you can hear us talking on the podcast. So
what?
Yeah, it's crazy.
That's so sick, dude.
Yeah. So the co-host for that was Scott Markland, and he knew her through college because we both went to Metro for acting, but she was a couple years ahead of me, so she'd already graduated when I was
dating up. Look at you.
Yeah, dude.
No big deal. Older lady, it's whatever.
It's 2 years, so. Yeah. Love you, baby.
She would have been a senior and you would have been a sophomore. That's a flex, man.
Yeah, if we'd only been in school together.
On, man.
But yeah, so
did you ask her out like right away, or?
Yeah, because I was in my prime then. I was a little hesitant at first because I was doing a lot of stuff. She was dating around too. She always brings up another comic that she was dating at the time, and I'm like, seeing casually, and whenever I see that guy now, I'm like, I fucking won, bitch.
Scoreboard, motherfucker.
I mean, he's not really around anymore, but at the time I thought it was a big, it was a big deal for me. But yeah, so I came and saw her play later, and I brought flowers, and then classic move.
You do love love.
I do. I want to be romantic and all that stuff. So I try every day to be the best man I can for her. And work out, just get a fucking pump on because I got to keep the body or she'll leave me.
Right.
She's like, you got to be my trophy husband. Or I'm out.
My thing, the field that she's pursuing is one where she needs real strict confidentiality, and so if I'm to pursue entertainment, I have to not have her on my Instagram and not it sucks because it's like, I'd love to just talk about, things with all the time, crazy, but it's like, I kind of not, but it's like, that's a responsibility thing where it's like, you got to do that to be responsible. So
interesting. Yeah.
That'll be kind of difficult to navigate.
There was like a learning period where, I did I was dating my wife, when we first started dating, I'd go out to open mics and I was doing jokes about her, like, oh, we had sex and blah, 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 da, da, da. You're constantly mining your life for content as a comedian. And it just so happened that some of her coworkers had come to that open mic.
Oh,
and
no
they
way.
knew that she was dating a comedian, and they were like, is this the guy you're dating? Because he's talking about how the girl he's dating is like the strong silent type in bed and like never says anything. It was not good. The jokes were not good either. But you gotta try it.
How many years in were you at this point?
4
okay.
or something, 4 or 5. And
just finding your voice, catching your stride, really getting the.
I mean, I feel like I still haven't found my voice. I mean, it's yeah, I don't know. What people like, what's your perspective? Like a Nate Bargatze or the angry Southern guy.
Theo Vaughn.
Yeah, no, but I'm talking more like a local guy who's
Brian Gill. No, sorry, I'm so close.
Hawk? No, not Hawk.
Hawk Tua.
Yeah, Hawk Tua. But you know what I'm talking about. This other guy, he's going on. He's going on fucking.
He opens for.
He was on Late Night, and he's
Ron White, and
he's going on tour with Bert Kreischer. I saw recently.
Chris, I'm gonna throw myself off.
Derek
Stroop, thank you. That's the one.
You know, he's got. I mean, he knew his voice perspective on a joke right away, and I'm constantly like, I don't know, sex is weird. My body. I don't know. I don't know if I have a voice. I don't know if I have a distinct perspective to be coming from with.
Oh.
Yeah.
And you, interesting.
Okay.
You think it has to be unique and distinct?
I would like it to be. I mean, you know, that's when I really think I'd lock in. You know, like the Grolix guys. You know, they're, you know, they were the top of the dung heap when I started here, and like, so I always think of them when I'm thinking about like, oh, what's my thing, or like, how can I be successful like that? I mean, I feel like Adam Caton Holland's kind of like he's got his character.
Oh, definitely.
You know, he went to college. You know, he's kind of got like this scholarly, like college snob kind of a thing. Like I'm a little smarter than everyone here kind of a thing. Ben, you know, crazy guy, does jujitsu, rides motorcycles. You know, he's got more of that angle. And then, I mean, at the time, Andrew Overdahl was like a dad. He's like, I'm a dad. You know, I don't know what his thing is now, but you know, those are angles. You know,
what's my angle, Chris?
Tall.
You got a lot of angles.
Okay, well, we'll talk about that.
We'll have to really
Tune in on the angles. Huh. Oh, those old people loved the martial law joke. I don't know how, I'll tell you because I don't know how much longer I'll be able to do
this show.
No, joke.
There was a show called Martial Law.
Yeah, well, that's right.
It had Sammo Hung in it, and he did karate.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay, check that
out. Which I always identified because he was a fat guy doing karate.
Yeah, I mean, that's pretty cool. Is it CGI or how do they get that fat guy to do karate?
He fucking grew up in a Chinese opera school with Jackie Chan.
Big dudes can move, bro.
Big dudes that can move. There's this Instagram account that just, he like commentates big dudes on a football field, just like making big dude plays, and that shit gets me fired up, man.
I can't remember the name, but there's a gentleman that's 328 that plays for the Bears who runs a like 4.3 40 meter, which is like up there with like
300 pounds and sub 4.5 is scary.
That would be so scary to see that guy running at you that fast.
Oh, get me out of the way.
My wife and I used to produce this podcast with Katie Bowman, or just talking about Help Me, I'm Scared, and they talk about horror movies, and they both went and saw this movie called Men, and there's this scene where this guy starts running at this woman in like a tunnel, and they were both came back, and on the podcast they kept saying the scariest thing is a man running at you. Like, the scariest, and I think that's true for men too.
Yeah.
Not just women.
That's terrible.
But sorry, your martial law joke.
No, South Korea recently, they declared martial law.
Right.
First arts,
and they fired that guy. Oh. Got it.
Let's hope they don't come from Mathers next, am I right, folks? It's an American institution.
Sure, Mathers, you know, Eminem.
No, but they did. Parliament had an emergency meeting, and they declared that the president does not have standing. I have to imagine the president was like, I'm the same size as all of you. So, the old people, they laughed at that. They liked it. It's a silly, stupid joke, but old people like it.
He had to fall back on his martial arts to prop up martial law.
Yeah. I will use my karate to enforce the martial law that I have put in place. That would be, I mean, although of all the Asian countries, I don't think South Korea has an affinity for martial arts. Right? Do they?
what was it?
I'm sure they do.
South Korea? Well,
They do
I'm sure maybe some. South Korea.
Did you ever
Are
see
they
Best
known
of the
for any
Best?
martial arts in particular? Best of the Best?
Yeah, it's a karate movie. The enemy in there was Korea, so it came down to America versus Korea.
Okay, well,
Yeah.
small brain Sean doesn't know, but I would
You
assume
gotta check it out.
Yeah.
Best of the Best. Awesome.
Taekwondo. Okay, well, dumb. I'll take I'm pinned or whatever they do in Taekwondo.
It's
Pinned,
mostly
right?
kicking.
Fall. That's a fall.
Taekwondo's
Technical
kicking.
fall.
It's like it concentrates on like weight reorientation and like using people's body weight and momentum against them. So like
That's called judo, bro. Okay. Yeah.
Come on.
I said they mostly kicks. I got it. Yes, I nailed it for you.
Thank you.
You know, I did study for quite a bit. I taught. That's one of the things I enjoyed about the Christina Vasily episode. I was like, oh, I taught some martial art. I did the little kids classes, but that's how after my aunt and uncles were like, hey, we can't afford to keep doing karate, I started teaching.
Very cool.
And they were like, yeah, mop the floors, whatever, do it. And that's how I
That's how you stuck with it?
Yeah.
How far
I thought that's what I was going to do when I was growing up. I was like, I'm just going to work at this martial arts place.
How far did you get? Were you black belt or?
Yeah, I got to my first degree black belt in American Kempo. And then when I was in high school, I got into a tussle with a wrestler. And I was like, oh, I'm a purple belt. At that time, I was a purple belt. And I was like on the cross country team. And I got into a tussle with this kid. And he also did wrestling. And he just wrapped me up like a fucking pretzel, dude. And fucking embarrassed me in front of everybody. And like anything I do, it's out of spite. So I started, and they did a jiu-jitsu class at the karate school I went to. And I started taking the jiu-jitsu stuff. So I eventually got to my blue belt in Brazilian jiu-jitsu.
Wow. Don't fuck with JD.
Yeah, that's what I'm getting at, guys. And that's one of the hardest things when getting into comedy, because you earn a certain amount of status with like martial arts or whatever, and like I was teaching and doing stuff. I was kind of like in the upper echelons of that club or whatever you want to call it, and then getting into comedy, and people are like, "Hey, dingus," which is something Sam Talent called me quite a bit, and they just like shit on you, and you're like, "I could fucking kill you, bro," but that's like that's not how you conduct yourself,
right?
And it was very hard. It was a hard thing to get over. I had a kind of a chip on my shoulder, coming in a little hot.
Gotcha. And that was part of the like anger bubbling up too. Yeah,
I mean, I didn't like hit anybody or anything like that, but I mean, it was like there was a lot of resentment towards a lot of people.
Well, when you say bubbling up, I think more through like your words, not through like anything physical, but like what you were writing about, probably in the way you're approaching things.
I wasn't coming off as a happy, fun guy. I wasn't the maybe wasn't the best hang.
Gotcha.
Which is a big part of it.
I've struggled with that in periods of my life too. Even now, maybe I'm not the best hang, but I know I'm a lot.
Yeah, the people I fuck with and I fuck with and I'm good friends with. I mean, I've been recently getting into this whole thing in my life about like what is friendship and like what is being a good friend, and I don't think I'm good friends with a lot of people. I don't click with a bunch of people. Which I kind of thought was a point of pride for a while, and then I thought maybe it was a detriment, but now I'm going back to being like, yeah, well, the people I care about, I fucking really care about, and like I call my friends constantly, we're talking on the phone, things like that, and with the comedy scene, we're all like friendly, but I wouldn't say I'm friends with a lot of these people. Like, we're coworkers more so than anything else. Like, we're getting to know each other here, but this is the first real conversation we've had.
Yeah, definitely.
And I think a lot of people take umbrage with that, right? If you're like, I'm like, hey, they're like, well, then fuck you. If we're not friends, then fuck you. But it's like, well, dude, I just barely know you. And like, this isn't a good, you're not conducting yourself well here. So, I don't know. I think sometimes it's just hard to build a rapport with some people, especially because there's a lot of egos in comedy, so.
Definitely.
And then people don't like it if you're trying to be too friendly too fast. Like, I think I ran into that with like Nathan Lund, he's just like, which I took offense to right away because I was like, I'm trying to be friendly here, motherfucker. Like, I'm trying to be, whatever. And he's just like, I don't have time for every new comic. Most of these people aren't going to stick around. And like, he was being friends with the people he wanted to be friends with, which I get now. But at the time I was so like, fuck this guy. And hey, I'd love to get you on the pod and talk about that. I feel bad. And now with the perspective, but
yeah, I mean, that's what doing the thing for an extended period of time gives you.
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of new kids. I'm like, I don't know their name, or like don't care to, because it's just like, I'm probably won't ever see you again, but it is what it is. And like I said, I'm friendly, but I'm not like, hey man, let's go hang out next week, or like, it's like, I don't have time for it. Unfortunately, you just don't have time for everything, and it's a hard balance. I mean, have you found any balance with that, like wanting to spend time with your partner? Like, I'm constantly torn by that. Like, went through a whole time where I was like, I fucking hate open mics because I wasn't getting up in a reasonable amount of time for me, when I was like, I could be hanging out with my wife. I could be fucking spending time with people that I care about,
Yeah, definitely.
Instead of just waiting to go up at 1:45 at the Lions Lair, or like 1:58, and they're like, oh, you get 2 minutes, or you can do a 1 minute set, which is something they did. Like, everyone's doing 30 seconds just to fit everyone in at the end, versus, when I was there for like 4 to 5 hours. I mean, you're putting in fucking work hour shifts at these open mics sometimes, it's a grind. So it's, it can be frustrating.
Yeah, I would say the way I've navigated is like, I work a full-time job and a door guy job. So I'm working like 60 to 70 a week. So that was just a accepted reality of like, I'm better off being a sponge and being the sound guy and learning through seeing pros and do it and work and take little notes along the way, and writing a lot and not getting out to mics 5 days a week. and like, oh, maybe I'm doing 4 spots on shows that people are helping me out with, and maybe 2 of them are paid or whatever in a month or whatever over the last few months. That's great. That's fine. It's a marathon, and I'm not going to be able to do the 5 days a week thing. And I'm very fortunate to have a good partner and a good relationship, and working to plan a wedding and all that other stuff. So it's like
wedding.
I don't get the.
What's your flower budget?
Fuck. I think we were trying to grow them. We were trying to grow. Fuck is my flower budget.
Yeah, we're growing them currently.
We put the bulbs in yesterday.
Is it going to be here?
I mean, yeah, it's going to be here in Denver. So yeah, it's
church
crazy to. No, we're going to do at a city venue.
I produce a whole wedding podcast, so I know a lot about weddings.
Well, I probably should grill you off mic about some questions then, but
you could listen to the podcast.
I should.
It's still out there.
There we go. What's it called?
Let's Get Drunk and Talk About Your Wedding.
Okay,
with Jen and Mal.
Perfect.
They're not doing it anymore, but it's still out there.
I will have to check some of that out because you run across these like Instagram reels. Yeah, look nice.
Tux?
Yeah, probably. We'll see. Probably just suit. Probably. I don't even know.
How big's the wedding party?
Decently big.
What does that mean?
Like 8 each.
Damn. You got that many friends?
Yeah. Close friends?
Got like a lot of brothers or something?
No, just close friends.
Wow. That's great.
Klubster.
You're going to be in it?
I assume.
Yeah. The Klubster.
I mean, I don't know. He hasn't given me anything official.
The funny thing with the pod, it's just like, time passing and things like that, which is interesting. But almost everybody who was on the pod was like, I had all these people in the wedding party and I don't talk to any of them now. It's like 10 years later and they're like, nobody in our wedding party then is even in my life right now. I know. It's crazy. It's just, I hope that doesn't happen to you guys.
Yeah, me too.
I mean, it's just funny how, people weave in and out of our lives. And
hey, if we're not in our lives, let's hope one of us is dead to help the other one advance the pod. All right? Perfect. That's the only acceptable reason to not be in each other's lives, is that one of us died for the advancement of the other. I will take the sword. Thanks. Glad we worked that out.
Yeah, off mic, he's like, I hope you take the sword too.
We're all taking swords together. No, I'm stressed about the wedding. Let's be honest. It's not stressful. The time to try to afford life and a wedding.
It's a celebration of love, and you guys, and
it's tough because I was like, I don't want to. We could just do the courthouse thing or whatever else.
So my wife and I, we self-solemnized during the pandemic. I thought we were gonna die.
I mean, it seems like a good.
I was like, hey, I want to be able to see you if you're on your deathbed. Maybe not the most romantic.
Isn't it crazy that like you wouldn't have been able to?
Yeah, that was something I thought of. It's just,
Dude, they're filling gloves with warm water and like tying into people's hands to like simulate fake.
God damn, dude, that's crazy.
Remember the hugging suit that for the grandparents, where like there's sleeves of plastic that you can hug your grandma through. Like, fucking. I saw one this way. Oh god, dude, some of this stuff is just insane to look back on what we were doing to the world.
I mean, it's so funny that this is going to be. I mean, the record of what we went through. Will be. We'll have podcasts and stuff to look back on versus the Black Plague or whatever the last one was.
Yeah, right.
No one's going to read your journal.
Oh, I've got one. Did you know that 10.5% of men ages 25 to 54 in the United States, 6.8 million men nationwide, are not working or working for employment or looking for employment at all?
God,
so 10.5% of men are just like,
how is that possible?
Fuck it. That's what I'm saying.
Like, how does the long term not end up those 6.8 million being on the streets? Because that would be a very visibly obvious thing.
I mean, some would say it's already happened.
Yeah, I would think there's a case that it's already happening in part. And
well, dude, like Denver, it's actually surprising. Like the actual amount of like whatever they call like residential homeless, like that don't leave, that stay like interseasonally, it's only like 300 something people. It's not that many.
Really?
That don't move around. Obviously, there's
okay.
People that they have accounted for and know that are in the area for like the last 2-3 years. There's only like 345 people. I'm like, it may have increased. That was a number from like 2 or 3 years ago.
Interesting.
6.8 million people get thrown on the
street.
Oh yeah,
right? Yeah, I would think we would see the effects of that.
I mean, my job is driving around all day, and I see a bunch of homeless people all the time. It's crazy.
What do you do for work?
I drive the short buses for RTD.
Okay.
I can just listen to podcasts and audiobooks all day mostly, which is great. And then I do feel like I'm helping out, handicapped, disabled people, things like that. And yeah, I mean, I'm just driving around downtown all day picking people up from dialysis or whatever, you know, the hospitals, and it is a mess out there. I mean, it's rough. I mean, I have seen just my anecdotal evidence or whatever is, you know, just way more unhoused people. I mean, you don't see the camps like you did like right after the pandemic. You know, the camps right off the highway and stuff like that. There's less of that, but there's a lot more people at gas stations. I mean, it's like I can't even go into a 7-Eleven like after a certain time, and they won't let you go to the bathroom there. You know, they're like, we close. We don't let anybody in after a certain amount of time, or after a certain time. And you know, just these little things that are adding up. You know, where it's like you can't have nice things, I guess. I don't know, in a certain time. But I mean, you know, there's just way more problems.
Yeah, there's an X-flow impact onto other parts of society for us to ignore what's happening in this person's life in front of us.
Yeah, it's crazy.
And so for us to be willfully ignorant and throw up our hands and just go about our business and think that it's not going to come back and affect that process of us being willfully ignorant is foolish.
I mean, where I work, our like yard with all the buses is right by one of the hotels that was converted into a shelter for the homeless, and it's crazy. It's just like there's always police there. There's multiple fires that have been started on our like company property. It's fucking crazy. My car got broken into at work, and I don't know who it was, but you know, it's just not a safe part of town right now. You know, I mean, I guess you could argue that it never was, but I mean, I don't know. It's like right off I-70 in like Quebec or something like that.
Yeah, that's tough.
It's interesting times we're living in, man. It's weird.
Yeah, I worry that we're discounting, breaking apart the hope in the 24 to 54. Let's say again, 25.
I mean,
54.
there's a lot of disenfranchised. I mean, like, I have no loyalty to any job. You know, because they don't give a shit about me.
With you for sure.
Yeah, dude, they'll fucking fire me without 2 weeks notice. So why would I give them 2 weeks notice? I know they don't give a shit about me. You know, they don't even give me like the base level of, you know, like appreciation and like, you know, because there've been multiple, like when my car got broken in, they're like, it's not our problem. You have to park on the street. And I'm like, I mean, is it unreasonable to expect a safe a place for me to park at the place I'm employed? They're like, you can go to Walmart and get your car broken into. I'm like, yeah, I'm not going to fucking Walmart. I'm coming to work. I'm coming to work for you. You can't provide enough parking. You could be
mining lithium as a child slave in the Congo.
There's just like,
be happy for what you have.
That's exactly what they fucking told me, basically.
Yeah.
And they're like, no, I don't care that your car got broken into and it's undrivable, because they tried to steal it and they just fucked it up, the ignition, and I had to get it towed.
It makes me want to do their capitalism better than them and take their profit margins in their company.
Show me a book. Be like, hey, look at this. This is a metaphor for your...
I'm going to break into the bus industry, JD, just to prove these fuckers wrong.
But yeah, so it's just like, they don't give a shit about you. I mean, one of the reasons I took this job is because it's union. The job I had before, not union. There was nobody to fight for the employee. Like, a bunch of bullshit going on. There's nobody. So at least I have the union guy here. And he was like, sorry, yeah, you're on the street, so we can't do anything for you. But when there is an actual issue, like, they can't just cut back my hours, you know, because they don't like me or whatever. Like, there are at least some kind of safeguards with that. So I'm pro-union, and I don't know, but they don't give a shit about you ultimately. And that's why you have to have things like the union for them to fucking treat you like a person, not just somebody who's lucky to have a job. You know,
you're part of the means of production to them.
Yeah, for real.
Marxian capitalist equation.
Yeah.
Capital. I'll give it to you later, Chris.
Yeah, sorry guys, I didn't mean to get on
but that's just
upsets me.
I mean, I'm upset too.
Thank you. Appreciate it. But yeah, dude, 2020 pandemic, best year of my life. I mean, I know there's a lot of bad things happening, and I'm sorry for people who really suffered, but I mean, I was on unemployment. I just spent every day with my wife. We got married that year. We got a puppy. I mean, for me, it was awesome.
Yeah.
I mean, it was the best. Very fortunate. And I know a lot of people, you know, went through some hard stuff, and I'm sorry about that. But
let's run it back.
But I mean, I get why you would not want to go back to a shitty job that doesn't give a fuck about you. And like, if you could figure out how to make it work some other way, I get it. instead of just being a cog in the machine.
Well, now all these kids just want to be content creators, so.
Hey, man, I mean, if that's how you can make money. I think Sarah Tolomash just came out with a special called Butthole Money. And, like, dude, chicks on Instagram are making more fucking money there than they could doing anything else. Yeah, her whole thing
if
with
I
her...
was a girl, dude, are you kidding me?
For those women, like, there are women on OnlyFans who singular people have given them over $1 million.
Yeah, dude, they're making, well, like her whole thing in her special is that this is generational wealth they're building. So, like, yeah, you know, a couple generations from now, they'll be like, oh, they made her money in butthole money. Like, that's how they're butthole money rich, you know, it's like how they're going to be, which is very funny.
That's hilarious. I love that.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. Yeah,
so I got to get that butthole money somehow.
I've been thinking I should probably sell feet pics. Like we probably should have an OnlyFans for Sean's feet.
Again,
right?
you got to build up your
They're
audience, you know.
I'll build it up first. Okay.
I mean, you know.
We're saving these toes for later.
That's what the Patreon I thought was.
I mean, subscribe and find out. It might be. It just might be. If 5 of you subscribe to the Patreon, even at the $1 tier, I'll post feet pics on there for you. How about that? It won't happen, so
He's
I'm confident.
giving them away.
I'm confident to say that.
You can't afford not to.
If we pool our money, we can. Well, have you heard of this silly little country called England, JD?
Yes.
They have this thing over there they do called knighting. Here at Top Shelf Studios. After a long form conversation, I'm doing the hiding.
Okay. Oh, okay. Yeah.
People all my life.
I've listened to the end of some of your pods.
There we go. Look at this guy. He's the best. I'm telling you, best in the scene.
Thank you.
Yeah, people all my life they've been like, "Hey, can I get a couple inches? How's the weather up there?" and things like this because of this large vehicle that I drive. And I've come to learn now. I've got this prefrontal lobe, or they say I do at least. That it's just a meat suit. It's just a sausage casing that I get to drive around in with my consciousness, and I'm stuck to every day. And we treat each other based on these sausage casings more than anything else and judge each other on these meat suits. And it's like, dang, that's really weird. So I'm pleased to give you a heart height. How tall do you stand physically?
5'9".
JD Lopez. I heart height thee. 6'9".
Nice.
Full foot of heart differential.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
You might need a reduction surgery at some point for that bad boy heart of yours, but
never.
Keep doing good things with it in the world. I am
thank you.
Very honored, and I feel grateful that you gave me some of your time.
No, I appreciate you having me on. I love doing pods, and I love that you're doing it.
Well, thanks for letting me be a younger member of the Denver Comedy
You gotta
Podcast.
throw out that I'm old, huh?
Diaspora. It's a joy and an honor to be in your wake, JD.
Hey, just stick around long enough, and you might be the longest running Denver Comedy Podcast in one.
Damn, dude, we got a decade to go, and then you have to stop. That's the other catch. I don't want you to stop, so that's not going to work for me.
Can't stop, won't stop.
Yeah. Let me know when you get to 1,000. Whoa!
I know the crazy thing with like the Rogans and Nerdist got there, but they were doing 3 a week.
So how many? Yeah, that's one question I wanted to ask earlier that I didn't get to. What's your consistency? Has it been one a week?
Usually 1 a week. I mean, the last couple, post pandemic, like I said, I stopped for a little while and then brought it back. And I was producing a lot of other people's shows for a while, so then it was like 1 every other week, things like that. But for the most part, it's 1 a week still. But I didn't put one out last week. Sorry.
All right.
But I've had 4 this month.
But you're here, so this will be out next week or something like that. So yeah, they'll get enough of you.
I think I built enough trust with my audience that they, that they're there.
Yeah. So. Okay. Hell yeah. Well, I love that. I hope you'd come back anytime. And if you have anyone that you could send my way that you think I would get along with or would dig into an interesting conversation with, please. I know you know more people than I could ever hope to. So
just older,
just reps, man.
Yeah.
It's just whatever, It's a lot of work on the bench.
Like I said, you just gotta be around. You just stick around long enough.
Well, in line with most of our conversation, thanks for listening. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you want to support the show. Fuck off and be well.